Now, mind you, 2 weeks ago, Cardi said somebody was charging up your Amex card. Turns out she was right. Now, let me take y'all back about 2 weeks ago when the girls was tussling and Cardi B had made mention to Nicki Minaj's Amex card. That's K Michelle. We're gonna get to that story next. Now, about 2 weeks ago, Cardi B said in her exchange with Nicki Minaj on the internet, quiet as kept. The truth is you've been diagnosed, allegedly, with schizophrenia, allegedly, and bipolar disorder, allegedly, for almost 9 years, and you're heavy on that and the other list of pharmaceuticals. She goes on to say that you don't listen to nobody around you, and the only person that have power is Kenneth Petty, but you know what happens with that Amex when you're sedated. Now, in the second tweet where she makes mention about Nicki Minaj's Amex card, which is still on her page, she says, your husband is not stopping you from your actions because he lets you do all day to numb you so he can max out your credit cards. Yeah, you think I don't know? Question mark. Then she goes on to say, them queen ninjas from Queens, New York, if you don't know, that you be letting in your house every time you kick them out, be coming and spilling your tea in the hood. Now, fast forward to today, right? 2 weeks later, Nicki Minaj posts this in her story and says that 3 people in the span of 2 months have been charging my Amex card without permission. Sounds like somebody was spilling her tea and she had to go look, which you should. You should always look at your credit card statements. Now, she goes on to say that a couple of them have been doing it for years, filed the first report a couple of weeks ago. They're all going to jail. Now, Tasha K had posted that Nicki Minaj did file a police report against somebody by the name of DeAndre Tristan, who happened to be her stylist. Now, if you don't know DeAndre Tristan, they're a three-time Emmy Award winning stylist, and they were Nicki Minaj's personal stylist. For how many years, I don't know, but I've seen this person on a barrage of posts from Nicki Minaj and their self over the years. So I assumed that DeAndre Tristan had been working with Nicki Minaj for a considerate amount of years. Now, Nicki goes on to say that the fourth person has been stealing from the Barbs. Oh, ish. She says, sitting here smelling like Pink Friday 2 fragrance and nothing like a hot shower to put everything into perspective. Now, this is the last post that she had made before we get to the transactions she had posted. She said one of the credit card thieves has also been tracking my moves with a tracking device that led right to his own cell phone number. So whoever this he is, she goes on to say, you can't make this ish up, laughing my butt off. Won't God do it? Yes, he will. And then Nicki proceeds to show us these transactions, which looks like they were from her Apple Pay card, her Apple Pay account. This one here that seems like it repeated. And then another one here. So these are sizable portions that were charged on her credit card. Now, other people in the comment sections across social media thought that she was going to be charging Arrogant Tate, her ex hairstylist. Somebody in the comments said, I feel like she's lying and she's going to say one of the people is Tay, being Arrogant Tate. The transactions she posted are from her Apple Pay wallet, which everybody saw, and it won't show up on your phone unless your phone was tapped. Now, over on Arrogant Tay's Instagram post, he said, nobody's more delusional than the internet. The way everybody makes up these stories and lies is sick. Now, this is stemmed from people saying that he and Nicki Minaj had unfollowed each other after he was seen at this event with Ice Spice, who she had now fallen out with. All I'm going to say is don't say nothing crazy about Cardi B before yo ops start sending her yo tea.
The Nicki Minaj news is shaking, and there was news coming out back to back to back to back all day. So Nicki Minaj is in two dilemmas today, two major ones. There's a lien on her $20 million mansion, a court-ordered lien after an assault in 2019. We'll get to that. But also, Cardi B made a comment about somebody inappropriately using Nicki Minaj's Amex card. Now Nicki is coming out speaking about it, say, hey, there's a lot of unauthorized charges on my card. There's a lot to this story. There's a lot to Nicki today. Let's talk about it. So let's start with this guy right here. This is Thomas Weidenmuller. Okay, Thomas used to work with Nicki Minaj in 2019. He was the head of security. Well, at a particular show, there was a female security guard that while she was on duty, a man came on stage with Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj was very upset. She cussed the female security guard out, calling her a B, all sorts of stuff. Thomas, being the head of security, he approached Nicki Minaj, trying to defuse the situation and defuse the fact that the female security guard was crying. So he's trying to calm everybody down. Nicki starts going off on him and throws a shoe at him. That's when her husband, Kenneth Petty, gets in the middle of that situation and punches Thomas Weidenmuller in the jaw breaking his jaw. That's what caused him to sue, leading to the lien on the property. This is a snippet from page 6 that explains it perfectly. Due to the alleged assault, Weidenmuller claimed that he had to undergo 8 surgeries to repair the damage to his jaw, which involved inserting 5 plates into his face. That's a lot. He must have really knocked him out cold. A judge awarded Weidenmuller $500,000 for the damage under a default judgment, which I do believe for the lawyers out there, isn't a default judgment when nobody shows up? Tell me, let me know if I'm right or wrong in the comments. Nicki Minaj and Kenneth Petty tied the knot in October 2019 and welcomed a son in 2020. So this all happened before they got married, but after they got married, the marriage, the unity, the bill fell on Nicki Minaj. So this is the home. It's a gorgeous home. It's an 11-bedroom home. It's worth about $20 million. Now, Nicki has not paid. So interest has occurred. Time has gone past. And this man's going back to Courtney saying, hey, if they make her sell her home, that should leave her millions to spare. And she'll also be able to pay me. So he's going for the gusto, trying to take her house. Now, Nicki's net worth is about $150 to $190 million. She is the highest paid female rapper in history. So her house being about $20 million is on par to what she should have. Now, let's take it back to earlier this month of the Nicki Minaj Cardi B beef of them going back and forth online, right? Well, Cardi said this: quiet as is kept. Truth is, you've been diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar for almost 9 years. And you was also heavy on drugs, cocaine, perks, Xanax, pills and potions. You don't listen to nobody around you. The only person that have the power is Kenneth Petty. But you know what happens with that Amex when you sedated, okay? So Cardi said this. Cardi also said this, and I remember reading this. And this is when they did their apologies. Nicki did a kind of apology to Culture. And then Cardi B responded, and this was it. She said, this is my last time responding to you because this is past Twitter now. I got to see you. But first, I'm going to tell you the truth. You said out your own mouth that the little girl in you haven't forgave your mother yet. And that's because your mom stays silent while your dad used to touch on you every time he did that crack pipe. I know you experienced a lot of trauma and abuse, but drugs is not going to help you. You need to go get therapy now. I'm going to let you know this today. Your husband is not stopping you from your actions because he lets you do all the drugs all day to numb you so you can max out your credit card. You think I don't know? Them Queens niggas that you be letting in your house every time you kick them out be coming and spilling all your tea in the hood. I'm just going to be the realest person to ever tell you, you need to get help. You need to heal that trauma. You always coming at people every time you see that happy, and she goes on and on. But clock it, she brought up again to max out that credit card. So these were Nicki's tweets today. 3 different people in a span of 2 months charging my Amex without permission. Some couldn't even explain how they had the brand new card number. Sister, they had the brand new card number because your husband gave it to them. She said a couple of them have been doing it for years. Filed the first report a couple weeks ago. They're all going to jail. And they should. It's credit card fraud. She said one of the credit card thieves also has been tracking my moves with a tracking device that lead right to his own cell phone number. You can't make this ish up. LMFAO, won't God do it? Yes, he will. And she played Nicki Minaj win again. So it's looking like what Cardi said. Nicki confirmed. Nicki was so sedated that they have been using her Amex card for months because you're not going to tell me you're not getting dings on your phone. If I try to charge something that looks a little funny, my card is texting me like, hey, was this you? So, random charges in Queens and you may be in Prague, but if you're sedated with all these pills and potions, you're not going to know. So this is scary. It's a scary time to be Onika Tanya Mirage Petty.
What the fuck is going on with Nicki Minaj today, and why is she lying to us? Allegedly. So if you did not know, early this morning, Nicki Minaj took to Instagram to talk about how there were some fraudulent charges made to her Amex card. which is hilarious when you remember that Cardi B called this out a couple weeks ago. Now, Nicki Minaj was saying that it was 3 different people in a span of 2 months, but she specifically did say that it was her Amex that was being used. And in Cardi B's tweet, when they were going back and forth about their kids, she mentioned that Kenneth is the one that is allegedly using Nicki's card without her permission. She also went on to say that one of the thieves had actually been tracking her location with a tracking device. And then she proceeded to post screenshots of these unauthorized transactions. And I use the word unauthorized loosely because this doesn't really prove anything, right? This could be a screenshot of any transaction, even ones that she made. Even more so when you consider that this is coming straight from her Apple Wallet. And if you don't believe me, this is a screenshot from my own Apple Wallet where you can see it looks identical with the exception of the couple things here and there that she happened to scratch out. Now, why is this important? Well, you have to consider that due to the fact that this card is an Amex card, for this transaction or any of the other ones that she showed to show up in her Apple Wallet, it means that Apple Pay must have been used one way or the other. Either in the online checkout of a store, they used Apple Pay to pay automatically, which would mean that that person had access to Nicki Minaj's phone, or they were at a store in person and still used Apple Pay on Nicki Minaj's phone to tap and pay for a purchase. Now, when you consider that Nicki said that the latest thieves even had her latest and newest credit card number, it's looking more and more like the call is coming from inside the house, allegedly. Now, the reason I ask if it's possible that Nicki's lying to us is because just today, a nice little exclusive article from US Weekly drops discussing how Nicki and her husband are at risk of losing their home. Now, enter Thomas. Thomas used to be one of Nicki and Kenneth's security guards up until 2019 when Kenneth punched him in the face for absolutely no reason. He alleges that during a show, a fan rushed the stage. Nicki was upset. He tries to defuse the situation between Nicki and another female security guard. Kenneth punches him so hard that it requires surgery for him to fix his jaw. He ends up suing Nicki and Kenneth and wins by default because they never respond to the lawsuit, which is insane when you consider you're a multi-millionaire, you have a business, you have multiple businesses. Don't you have business insurance? Don't you have lawyers for this type of thing? Anyway, he gets awarded a little bit over $500,000, and I'll let you take a guess as to whether Nicki and Kenneth paid him. They didn't. Now we're 6 years later, and he still doesn't have a single penny from Nicki or Kenneth. So what does he do? Naturally, he goes back to the courthouse, and he's asking the court to force Nicki Minaj to sell her $20 million home. Now, Nicki does have a $13 million mortgage on the home, which means that if she sells it, she has to pay back the mortgage and she has to pay back Thomas. But Thomas's lawyers are basically saying that with $6 to $7 million left over, surely she would have enough to pay his $500,000. Now it's going to be up to the court to decide if she's going to be forced to sell her home. Now, this is where these two things kind of connect for me. Is it possible in a perfect world that Nicki Minaj receives notice, her and her team receive a heads up, maybe a phone call asking for a comment on this article that's going to be published as an exclusive for US Weekly? Nicki and her team know that so far they've already been unable to beat the allegations of Nicki being broke. So what do? They're like, we might need a little distraction. Because what is the likelihood that both of these things happen on the same day? And what better way to do that than to not only talk about unauthorized charges, but to specifically mention the Amex, which they know was the topic of conversation between her and Cardi B a couple weeks ago during their beef. And they just know it'll drive way more clicks and views to Nicki and her social media than the article on US Weekly. But anyway, that's just how my brain works. That's just the thought process that went on in my mind. But I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Because truly, I just don't see a world in which Nicki Minaj would go to Instagram just to prove Cardi B right and not have an ulterior motive for that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts.
The fact that the barbs thought Cardi had piss when she really had tea, oh, I know that shit eating y'all up right motherfucking now. Nicki know who the fuck stole them goddamn Amex cards. Don't nobody got access to her goddamn Amex cards. And let's get some shit out of it correct. Nicki has been famous damn near 20 goddamn years, okay? Ain't nobody ever stole her Amex card until she got married to this goddamn scumbucket. Baby, and like Cardi said, them niggas in the hood been dropping tea and been telling he been coming over there with goddamn Nicki's credit card, splurging it on the whole goddamn hood. Now let's talk about it. Now Keith Petty is Nicki Minaj's biggest downfall. I don't know why she see that. Why she on Twitter talking about having a husband or having tea. Baby, I'd rather have the tea than have a husband that's stealing from me and that is a pedophile. Child, Nicki was worried about who was stealing her Amex card. She should have been worried about paying that man that $500,000 that they settled out to pay him after Keith Petty attacked that man. And now that they haven't paid that man that $500,000, he want way more. He asked the judge to sell Nicki $20 million house. I said, what? And what if they do it? Girl, you ain't never put your house up for that man. That is crazy as hell. And then you keep on the internet, keep trying to say that Cardi is stalking your marriage. Baby, ain't nobody stalking your goddamn marriage. You is miserable in your own marriage. Baby, you losing more than you fucking gaining in that marriage with Keith Petty. Baby, that nigga over there driving you noodle caboodle crazy, okay?
Cardi B and Nicki Minaj, this is the never-ending beef, and it is somehow continuing weeks after their exchange on Twitter, right? So if you guys remember, Cardi B and Nicki Minaj said some outlandish things about each other and each other's children, right? And at one point, Cardi B said this: "You don't listen to nobody around you. The only person that have the power is Kenneth Petty, but you know what happens with that Amex when you're sedated, allegedly. Oh yeah, note that I am just reading what they have publicly stated. This has nothing to do with me. I am just reading what the alleged or the statements they made were, okay? Cardi continued by saying, "Your husband is not stopping you from your actions because he lets you do allegedly drugs all day to numb you so he can max out your credit card. Yeah, you think I don't know? Them Queens dudes that you be letting in your house every time you kick them out be coming and spilling your tea in the hood, allegedly." Now let's fast forward to what Nicki Minaj posted on her Instagram stories. 3 different people in a span of 2 months charging my Amex without permission. Some couldn't even explain how they had the brand new card number. A couple of them have been doing it for years. Filed the first report a couple weeks ago. They're all going to jail. A 4th person has been stealing from the barbs. Sitting here smelling like Pink Friday 2 fragrance, nothing like a hot shower to put everything into perspective. One of the credit card thieves have also been tracking my moves with a tracking device that led right to his own cell phone number. You can't make this up. LMFAO, won't God do it? Yes, he will. Along with this were purchases of $7,000, $8,030.59, $5,552.63. And it's looking like Cardi B was some type of Dalai Lama, like she had some sort of inside information, and it gives credence to the alleged statements that Cardi B was making about Nicki Minaj. Allegedly. I'm just reading what was stated by 2 people on public platforms, not making any insinuations. I just want to clarify that as much as possible in case I get posted again and some fandom decides to attack me. But yeah, man, this is like the never-ending beef, and I found that interesting, man. Like, how do you guys feel about this? Let me know in the comments. Make sure you join the Discord. We talk about music, sports, everything in between. If you have any issues joining, DM me, let me know, and I'll get you in there. Till next time, I'm out of here. You shit me.
Cardi B called it. She said that Kenneth Petty was Nicki Minaj's downfall. This is how you turn a $503,000 lawsuit into a $20 million seize on your home, all because of your baby daddy, all because of your husband. So essentially, Kenneth Petty, back in 2019, Nicki Minaj had a concert, and the security did not prevent one of the fans jumping on stage next to Nicki Minaj. They broke the barrier, got next to her. Nicki Minaj goes off on one of the female security guards, and then one of the male security guards goes to break up the whole fight. So from there, Nicki Minaj goes to her dressing room, and she calls the male security guard who got in between her and the female security guard and calls him to her room. When he got there, Kenneth Petty was standing there with Nicki Minaj and 2 other security guards, and that's when Nicki Minaj went off on him, and then Kenneth Petty swung at him and broke his jaw. He then left out of her dressing room from there and went to the emergency room, and he ultimately decided to sue Nicki Minaj, and he won a $503,000 lawsuit. Now, his attorney said that Nicki Minaj has been like refusing to see, both sides and to come to a conclusion, to agreement with the lawsuit. So since it's been so long since he's won the lawsuit and she has not paid, they're going for the jugular. They're going to seize her home. They say her home has enough equity to cover his mortgage, to cover his, doctor's bills, attorney fees, and all of that stuff.
Now, even though that's not the first place they could have went, they could have gone every other avenue before going after her home. But in the state of California, they don't have to. They can just go for her home, basically. But Cardi B even said it. She was like, Nicki Minaj's downfall is her husband. Like, he is her bad karma. And if you don't know, if their karmic debt is real. And as long as she keeps this man around, she's going to stay owing debt to karma. She's going to stay in karmic debt.
So Nicki Minaj is claiming somebody is doing fraudulent charges on her American Express. I mean, Nicki, I don't want to say I know who did it, but I would say it's petty of them. I mean, how petty do you gotta be to be charging Nicki Minaj, the queen, and using her American Express card behind her back? You must be one petty motherfucker. Nicki, I ain't gonna lie, I would have fucking swallowed my phone whole before I freaking posted that shit after everything Cardi B done said about you. Cardi B at home right now like, I mean, this got to be a joke, man. Why would Nicki even post that stuff for the world to see after everything Cardi B done said? You literally just proven her right. And the funny thing is I'm pretty sure everybody has agreed in the world that we already know who the hell is using Nicki Minaj's bank card right now. Hopefully, whoever it is, the police finds this person and bring his petty ass to justice.